Welcome, brave soul, I am the forgotten storyteller. Before we begin, tap that like button if you dare, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world you're listening from. And if you make it to the end of this video, I hope to see you in the next story. I hope you're ready, because I am. Let's begin. Our story begins on Gosmer Lane, a small suburban road that never quite made it to the map. It curves like a lazy river through a sleepy neighborhood of sun-faded houses and quiet porches. The kind where bicycles rust behind fences and wind chimes never seem to stop moving, even on still days. The kind of place that feels untouched, but slightly watched. At the very end of the lane, where the asphalt gives way to gravel and weeds peek through every crack, sits House 313. It's an ordinary house, almost forgettably so. White paint, long peeled into curling flakes. Shutters that hang crooked. A roof that seems just one thunderstorm away from caving in. But still, the light is always on in the front hallway. Just that one light, behind the frosted window beside the door. A warm glow that never flickers, never fades, and never goes dark. Even when no one lives there. Even when no one has for 20 years. Children whisper about it. They pass by it in groups, never alone. They say that if you walk too close to the door at night, you'll hear something on the other side. A quiet knock. Others say if you dare to knock yourself, not once, not twice, but 3 times after midnight, the door will open. It always opens. Just a crack. And behind it, you'll see only that narrow hallway bathed in amber light and silence. The game, they say, is to knock 3 times. But never step inside. Never, ever cross the threshold. No one knows what happens if you do. Or perhaps someone did, and they never came back to tell. Tonight the air is still. No wind, no moon. Clouds gather like ghosts in the sky. And in one little house on Gosmer Lane, a young boy named Julian lies in bed, wide awake. He's heard the stories. He's seen the hallway light. And tonight, for reasons he cannot explain, his feet feel restless beneath the sheets. Outside, the clock tower from town chimes once, and then again twice until it tolls 12 midnight. Julian listens to each slow bell echo into the air like ripples in a dream. Ding dong, ding dong. By the 13th chime, he's already laced his shoes. He steps outside into the hush. The gravel whispers beneath his soles. Every house is asleep. Lights off, curtains drawn, a hush so thick it feels like a blanket over the neighborhood. Except for one. House 313. That familiar, warm yellow hallway light glows like honey behind the glass. Soft, steady, patient. Julian's breath fogs in the cool air as he approaches. His heart isn't racing, but slowing oddly. Like something around the house pulls his thoughts into calm, into quiet, into stillness. He climbs the creaking porch steps. Paint flakes crunch beneath his fingers as he reaches for the frame. He raises his fist and knocks. Once, then again, at first nothing. Only his breath and the whir of a faraway street lamp. Then the doorknob turns, slow and deliberate, followed by a click. The door creaks open and slightly, then a bit wider. That golden hallway spills into the night, unchanged from every story he's ever heard. Wallpaper lined with delicate red flowers. A runner carpet faded from age. A small wooden table holding nothing but an old rotary phone that never rings. And still no sound coming from inside the house. Julian stands there staring into the glow. He doesn't step in. He remembers the rules. But the house smells faintly of funeral lilies, a scent too strong, too floral for any natural place. It sticks to the back of the throat. In Victorian times, they say lilies were laid on the chests of the dead to mask the scent of decay and to guide their spirits home. Julian doesn't know that, but he steps back, and the door, quietly, closes. He tells no one the next day, or the next, but something has changed. He dreams of the hallway now, not just the light, but the shape of something standing at the far end. Not moving, not beckoning, just waiting. Always the same dream. Always the scent of lilies. Always the ticking of a clock he doesn't own. And so the days pass. Julian avoids House 313. Crosses the street when he walks past. He tries to forget. But it's hard to forget what doesn't want to be forgotten. Sometimes at night, there's a knock at his door. Once, twice, then silence. Nothing outside. No footprints in the dirt. Just the faint smell of lilies on the windowsill. It's been 3 weeks since Julian knocked on the door of House 313. He hasn't returned. Not physically. Not fully. But something from that night never quite let him go. It clings to the folds of his clothes, the scent of lilies always faint on the collar. It hides behind his blinking when the hallway lights in his home flicker for no reason. It waits just behind his mirror's edge, sometimes fogging, sometimes showing just a little too much in the reflection. No one else notices, but Julian does. At school he drifts. He forgets names he once knew, sits through lessons like they're underwater. Sometimes when the teacher's voice fades, he hears another voice, far away, whispering in triplets. Knock, knock, knock. Knock, knock, knock. He tries not to listen, but it sounds like his name by the third set. That Sunday his grandmother visits. She brings a heavy book wrapped in linen, an old family Bible, but not for reading. She says she felt a coldness lately, and that old houses remember things even people forget. She doesn't mention House 313, not directly, but when she leans close, her breath like peppermint and mothballs, she whispers, "Don't knock where the light's always on, darling. If they never turned it off, it means they never left." Julian says nothing, but his stomach turns as if something inside heard her. Late that night, Julian lies awake. Rain taps on the window like fingertips. The clock on his wall ticks irregularly, then stops altogether. The power cuts for exactly 13 seconds. Then everything comes back. But the hallway light is still off. That light, the one that should always be on. Julian rises. His legs move before thought does. A trance. A pull. Out of bed. Down the stairs. Onto the street. No shoes this time. The gravel is cold beneath his soles. His breath mists in the air like fog rising from a grave. House 313 waits. The porch groans as he steps onto it. The door looks different tonight, less worn somehow. Too clean. Like something remade it. He raises his hand, shaking. One knock. Two knocks, a third, soft as if uncertain thud. This time the door doesn't creak open. It swings wide. The hallway is deeper. It stretches longer than it should. Walls lined with photos, sepia-toned, unmoving eyes in every frame. And at the end that faint glow again. Not gold this time, but very pale, bone-colored. Like light filtered through old lace. He steps inside. One foot, then the other. The moment his second foot crosses the threshold, the door slams behind him. The photos on the walls turn, ever so slightly, toward him. There's a warmth in the air, unnatural. It isn't comforting, but close. Like breath on the back of your neck when no one's there. The house begins to hum. A low vibration underfoot. As if it's not just old wood he's standing on, but something sleeping beneath it. He walks, the hallway bends. The walls curve in. The scent of lilies now suffocates. And then a sound, a knock, not from the door, but inside the house. 3 slow, deliberate raps from somewhere deeper in the structure. Julian freezes. And still, his feet carry him forward. He turns a corner. Sees a staircase downward. Bare bulbs light each step like a glowing spine. And beneath the stairs, a room simple, sparse, containing only a single antique mirror. Framed in black wood, polished despite the dust. He approaches it. His reflection stares back, but not quite right. The Julian in the glass looks tired, older and paler. Then the mirror fogs slowly. From the inside, letters appear, scrawled in condensation by an unseen fingertip. They read, "You're in now." Julian tries to step back, but his feet won't move. His limbs feel distant, as if controlled elsewhere. He's floating but grounded, awake but dreaming. The mirror ripples, and something steps forward. Not him, not quite. A version of himself, slightly blurred at the edges, eyes just a little too wide, smile just a little too still. The other Julian reaches toward the glass, but the hand does not stop at the surface. It passes through. And when Julian screams, the sound never leaves his lips. It coils inside him, like a ribbon being tied in a knot. He cannot move. He cannot blink. But the other Julian can. The other Julian smiles. Steps out of the mirror and Julian begins to fade. Outside on the quiet street, nothing moves. The hallway light inside House 313 flickers back on, its familiar honey glow. Through the small window, one might see a boy standing in the hallway. Face calm, posture perfect. He turns, walks to the door, and shuts it quietly behind him. The next morning, Julian eats breakfast with his mother. He smiles at her with teeth he didn't have before. He answers every question just right. And when he leaves for school, he walks past House 313 and winks at the door, as if thanking it. But across town, in a tiny attic bedroom, a rotary phone begins to ring. Not loudly, just enough to stir the air. It has no cord. It has no reason to work. But it rings, and on the third ring, it stops. Then a knock sounds on the attic wall. 3 times. 3 towns over. A girl named Evie has a dream. She's never heard of Gosmer Lane, never seen House 313. But in her sleep, she walks down a street she doesn't recognize. Fog drapes the houses like old lace. The only sound is the soft clinking of wind chimes, swaying without wind. At the very end of the road, a house she's never seen, but somehow knows. She sees the number on the door, 313. She hears a voice, not hers, whisper in her head. Don't knock, unless you want to be answered. She wakes in sweat, the scent of lilies blooming beneath her pillow. The next night, she dreams again. This time she knocks, 3 times on the door, and the door doesn't open. Instead, her bedroom door creaks slowly, ever so slowly inward. And just for a moment, just before waking, she sees a figure, standing still, not inside the dream, not inside the room, but just behind her eyelids. In an old public library, a night custodian finds a slip of paper tucked into the pages of a damaged city zoning map. No handwriting, just 3 words, room for one. The lights above flicker. When he glances at the window, he sees his own reflection. And standing beside it, though he is alone, a boy very thin and standing still, and his eyes too wide. He blinks and the boy is gone. But the hallway outside hums, a sound like breath caught between walls. Back on Gosmer Lane, the storm rolls in. Rain sheets across the windows of every house, except one. House 313 stays dry. Not a drop touches its roof. Inside, the other Julian stands in the hallway staring at the mirror. He tilts his head slightly, and in that mirror, the real Julian still exists, but he's trapped and his eyes are dim, mouth open in a silent scream that no one hears. The lilies now wrapped around his legs, their roots growing into the floor beneath. In old folklore, there's a superstition. Never knock 3 times on the same surface after midnight. It's not the knock they fear, it's what knocks back. There's a boy named Milo who reads about House 313 on a forgotten internet forum. Just a thread with 1 post. Only knock if you're sure no one's listening. He thinks it's a prank. He laughs. That night, he dares himself. Finds the house on an old map. Drives there with 2 friends and a camera. The friends wait by the car. Milo walks up the porch. He knocks on the door 3 times. He grins back at the camera. But the footage ends there. When the police investigate the next day, there's no sign of Milo. Only his phone still recording. At the 4-minute mark, the hallway light turns off. And the door opens inward, silently, to welcome something out. Meanwhile, people start seeing him again. Julian at bus stops, in reflections, and in passing train windows. But something is always off. His eyes never blink. His shadow falls in the wrong direction. His voice comes 2 seconds too late when he speaks. Those who see him often dream of knocks that go unanswered. Until the 3rd night. Then the dreams stop. And so do they. Evie has her 3rd dream. This time she doesn't knock. This time someone else does. Inside the dream, she hears the knocking, slow and close, right beside her bed. But when she opens her eyes, the dream isn't over. Because she hasn't opened her eyes. Not really. She's awake, inside the house. Standing in the golden hallway. In front of her, the mirror. It's fogged again. But instead of a message, it shows her reflection looking away from her, like it's refusing to meet her gaze. And her voice, her own voice, whispers from behind her ears. Step through or step back. She runs. Back through the hallway. Back to the door. But it won't open. She pounds on it. 1 knock. Then another, and she stops. Terrified of what a 3rd might bring. From behind, a hand rests softly on her shoulder. Warm, very polite and patient. When she turns, no one is there. But the hallway light turns off. And everything goes black. Back in the waking world. Her mother finds her sleepwalking on the porch the next morning. Barefoot with her eyes open. Murmuring 3 numbers over and over. 313. When asked later what she remembers, she says only this. It wasn't a house. It was a door pretending to be one. On Gosmer Lane, House 313 still stands. Still waits. But it has changed. There are now 4 mirrors in the hallway. Each reflects a different moment, a different person. Julian, Evie, and Milo. And 1 mirror that remains fogged, untouched, unfinished. It waits. For someone else. There's an old man named Warren. He remembers stories his grandmother told him in quiet whispers. About homes that remember you. About doors that are not doors. And how the dead don't stay where we bury them. They stay where we remember them. Warren walks Gosmer Lane one rainy evening as if drawn by memory. His cane clicks on the pavement. His breath steams out of him in long, slow ghosts. He stops in front of house 313. Its porch light flickers, just once. And the door is already open. Warren doesn't knock. He tilts his head to the side, as if showing respect, then steps inside. Inside the house, time folds. The hallway stretches and tightens around him. The wallpaper peels in reverse, curling back onto the walls, becoming fresh again. The carpet unfades. The mirror at the end clears. And in it he sees his younger self, carrying a box, stepping across the threshold. Warren remembers now. He once lived here, only for about 18 months, as a boy. Before his parents vanished inside this house without explanation. He was found outside, shivering, unable to speak for days. He remembers waking to knocking sounds, always at midnight, always from the walls. He remembers the hallway light, how it never went out no matter how often his father flipped the switch. He remembers the smell like it was yesterday, the smell of the lilies. And now, 70 years later, he has returned. The house welcomes him, not cruelly, not kindly, but with recognition. One of the mirrors fogs as he walks by. Words form. Thank you for remembering. He does not smile, but he nods. Outside, the wind dies down. Gosmer Lane falls still. Inside, Warren closes the door behind him. From that night on, house 313 is gone. Not destroyed, not erased, just unreachable. The porch now leads nowhere. The windows show only walls. Anyone who tries to find it comes up one number short. House 311, house 315. But number 313, it waits again. Somewhere else. Because that's how it works. The house isn't always a house. Sometimes it's a dream. Sometimes it's a doorway in a place you shouldn't be. Sometimes it's a knock at the door at 12:01 a.m. But always it waits to be remembered. And now you know the story. You've followed the hallway. You've felt the breath on your shoulder. You've seen the reflection turn away. So when you sleep tonight, if you hear knocking, once, then twice, then 3 times, don't answer, don't open the door. Just listen and remember, it only opens if you let it. Let us know in the comments, would you open the door if you heard 3 knocks after midnight?
Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts. Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.